Greetings, skateboarders. Welcome to It's About Skateboarding. I'm your host, guide if you will, Chuck Hults. And I want to talk about skateboarding to you. And by that I mean not so much skateboard brands, skateboard products, skateboard graphics, skateboard magazines, legends, photos, any of that stuff. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff, but everybody else has got that covered. So I'm going to try to talk about just skateboarding itself. It's a mighty hot day here and muggy here in the old deck cave, so Chuck Hults is might be wiping himself off once in a while. So here you go. First thing we're going to do, if we're going to talk about skateboarding, is talk about skateboard. What is a skateboard? Well, in the simplest terms, it's a skate and a board. It's a board you can skate on. It was originally just scavenged from parts, old roller skates, pieces of wood. But all that evolution and stuff up to there, that's been covered as well. What I want to talk about is the modern skateboard and what it is and what has become through all this evolution. In the original skateboards, really the only part that interacted with the surroundings of what you were doing is the wheels. Nothing else. The board itself was to stand on, trucks turned, awesome. But the skateboard has changed. It's added components. Now you can grind on the metal between the trucks. You can slide on the nose. You can slide on this quadrant. You can slide in here. You can lock in different ways where you're actually touching the wheels, the metal, and the wood. Which brings me to another point. A skateboard has sort of a balance of components. It has the organic of the wood, the metal or mineral component, the plastic or chemical component, and all these are pretty much in a semi-balanced proportion, as well as the board itself these days. It's basically symmetrical. It has a balance to it, a symmetry, a form and function. Now, how did this skateboard and why did it get this way? What do we need it? Why did we need it to be this way? Why did it involve all this extra stuff? But which I say extra stuff, but is it really extra stuff? Because it's not really a super complicated device. If you know what the simple machines are from science class, the wheel and axle, the lever, wedge and inclined plane, the screw. Basically, it's just a real basic combination of the simple machines. But it has evolved to have these quadrants of function where you can interact with the organic portion of the board, you can interact with the chemical, mineral, or metal part of the board, or all at the same time. But why? Well, I feel that's because skateboarding, much like jazz music, took components from different sports and activities, such as snow skiing, roller skating, of course, surfing, of course, even motorcycles like Evel Knievel, for instance, jumping over stuff, motocross, jumping things. And by doing that, we took all these components and we began improvising, just like jazz musicians did. And we took all these things out of their restricted areas, whereas surfing is restricted by the ocean and how many waves come and weather. Snow skiing, the same thing. It's a it's a weather driven thing, and you got to go back to the top of the hill again, and so forth. And the roller skating and being in a rink in the early days. We took all these and improvised and took it to places it'd never been before, just as the jazz musicians did, took music and opened up completely new ways of playing music, places to parts of music, things that wouldn't even know were music in the first place. So that's why I feel this board has evolved into this. It is a product of that human exploration of this endeavor we do, skateboarding. So here I described this skateboard, and at least in the way in my years of immersed in skateboarding culture, have come to understand it. And that brings me to skateboarding itself, the activity. I hear people talking about what is skateboarding, why do you enjoy skateboarding, what is it about the feeling of skateboarding, and all these things like that, and common things like, I get my aggression out, or I feel the wind in my face, or it's freedom, and or just the physical activity of it. There's various answers you'll get, and none of them are wrong. I don't disagree with those. But I say a lot, sorry. I've thought about it, and I've tried to put my finger on what is it about skateboarding that kind of separates it from the activities that help spawn it, and just other things that humans have experienced up to this point. So, one of those things that I've kind of come to the conclusion is that it's not really about fun, because there's lots of ways to have fun. It's not about speed. And although that is part of it, and there is the challenge and stuff, but what is it that drives us for that experience that's so fleeting? And it's not like it lasts a long time. It's not like you get some sort of prize if you do it. You can compete and stuff, but that's not it. The average skateboarder, the person that really skateboards, they just want that feeling of skateboarding. And what is that? So I started thinking about the things you do when you skateboard, the things that we kind of brought to the way of human motion and human propulsion through our new human environment we have created. And so I started thinking about, let's say, carving a bowl, for instance. By doing that, you can go into a bowl and ride until you get tired, and never push, never pedal, not burn any fuel, any of that stuff. You're just tapping into the energy of gravity and just physics in our natural world. And why do we find that appealing? And other sports have tapped into that, but we tapped into it a way other activities haven't. We began creating places where we could practice that ritual, if you will, of riding skateboards. So when you think about it, when you're propelling yourself around the bowl, rising and falling, gaining speed, using gravity, what you're doing isn't really that much different from what the planets do, what the galaxies do, what the atoms do. It's a natural, it's the most base thing in the universe. Matter wants to move, and in orbital motion, it seems, is a very common theme. So when we're doing this, are we in some way tapping into that almost subatomic need to feel that, to move, and not be just in this human form in a bipedal trap, if you will? Even if you consider going up a quarter pipe, that's a quarter of an orbit. If you consider going down the stairs, you're taking the arc. The moon is falling around the earth. That might sound like just a crazy old man talking, but to me, I feel that's one of the reasons I connect with it, and something it's an explanation that I feel is justified if you consider there's no other explanation that I can come up with that's better. So we'll go scientific and say that's the best we got for now. Now, what if, imagine this is a little scenario I've thought of. Imagine you could go back to, let's say, the Great Pyramids when it was absolutely pristine and functioning and new as can be. You know, it took a long time to build. Take the priests there that run the place, that designed the place, bring them to some giant modern skateboard park, and let them observe skateboarding, the ritual of skateboarding. They would immediately recognize it as a ritual. And they would probably see things we don't see. They would probably see it as they would see some connections to things that we wouldn't see, and they wouldn't see it as a sporting place or anything other than a ritual arena, and we would be doing some sort of ritual that connected us to. They might not understand it exactly, but they would recognize what was going on immediately. So yes, that to me is something that old Chuck Hults here has thought about for a long time. Might sound crazy, but I've been wanting to share it with you people out there. So hopefully I don't sound like a complete moron. But if you're real skateboarders out there, I hope that I connected with you a little bit and started my journey about talking about skateboarding. There's lots more to talk about, and even some of that stuff I complained about at the beginning. But for now, thank you for joining me. Skateboard as much as possible. Goodbye.